2023 is almost here, which means that it's a new year for new life events and new resolutions. Now, as humans, we biologically try to predict or prepare for the next threat as a way of survival, one of our natural human instincts. So it's natural for us to start to ponder the possibilities of the new year, 2023. Will another pandemic arise? Will I get laid off this year? Will this year finally be a good year? But what if I told you that someone has already predicted the major events of 2023? Wars, natural disasters, political powers, major things that would impact your life this year. Would you believe them? But what if I said that they were one of the most prominent figures of the Renaissance? A man who maintained his relationship with the Vatican, all while practicing the occult, promoting astrology, and claiming he had visions that predicted the future. Some called him a servant of the devil, while some of Europe's elite admired him and even hired him. How did someone create a reputation respected by royalty, the rich, and the religious authority, all while nearly practicing magic? Was he really clairvoyant or just crazy? Nostradamus. Let's dive into the cauldron and figure it out. My name is Kayla, and this is Cauldron Convos, baby. Yeah, it's New Year's. Bye. Take the... I can't see the stocking. This won't come out. Okay, their whole thumbtack came out. We'll decorate it for Valentine's Day, okay? I'm sorry. We didn't have a chance, but we did the blue. I feel like blue is a New Year's color for some reason. Why? I don't know. If you are new here, please consider subscribing to this channel because we post here every single week, actually multiple times a week. Now we post our long format podcast, spine-chilling conspiracy, paranormal, true crime topics that you want to hear about. We post a long-form podcast called Cauldron Convos. That's what you're hearing now. But we also post a 15-minute shorter form, more serious, intimate video. In this video, we will be discussing who Nostradamus was, what some of his predictions were that came true during his lifetime, in addition to predictions that came true during the past 100 years or so, as well as some 2023 predictions. So who is Nostradamus? I keep wanting to say who is the Nostradamus, but he's not the Nostradamus.
He's just Nostradamus. That's his name. It's kind of sounds like the mob.
Yeah, the Nostradamus. It's like he's the guy that you go to.
He's the fixer.
Yeah, he's
on
the
Arthur
guy.
Avenue.
Oh my God, not Tony's Pizzeria on Arthur Avenue again. I keep doing this. Nostradamus was a French astrologer as well as physician who was famous around the 1550s.
I just thought it was funny that he was an astrologer and a physician. I feel like I would not want to see an astrologer for my
Well, I think in the
issues.
1550s, they probably didn't know, they didn't have like the equipment to perform such studies. However, he originally wasn't actually famous for his prophecies. He was known for his progressive methods during the bubonic plague. So isn't that funny to you that someone just laughed at him for being an astrology queen? Meanwhile, here he is, known for his progressive methods during the plague. He was the most progressive.
Yeah, but what's progressive in 1550s?
Well, instead of making his patients bleed out, he would give them rose hip pills, which were basically just vitamin C. He would put an emphasis on disposing infected corpses, which you should do. You shouldn't just let them linger around, obviously. Not that I'm teaching anyone watching. This is what you should do when you have a... Never mind. He would promote hygiene with wounds. So he was like, okay, baller physician over here, coming up with the new ways that are actually working.
It's interesting, though. He had no idea what he was doing, probably. He had no idea. Oh, there's vitamin C in this.
Really?
It's just like a point in guessing, yeah.
Well,
that's what medicine was for a long time. Even when
now
they had...
it is. Now we're kind of guessing.
Yeah, that's
sometimes.
what a trial
it's trial
is.
and error. Trial and error. Hello? But in 1538, Nostradamus was actually charged with heresy. It's sad. It's one of the things that I read said he made remarks about a religious statue, but another one said he made remarks about a religious statute. So I don't know what to say.
Definitely statute. He did
that
not
statue
chirp
is
a
a
statue.
big wiener.
No, they had small hogs on all the statues.
True.
And
But maybe that's why he was like chirping it, because he's jealous. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, that one has too big of a wiener. However, in 1538, Nostradamus was charged with heresy because he made some remarks about a religious statute, which made him flee, actually, and travel to different ancient mystery schools. Now, I don't exactly know what an ancient mystery school is, but sign me up. Get me a dorm because I'm going.
Sounds like Hogwarts.
Yes. trombone, trombone, trombone. Okay.
Watch out when you get demonetized.
Hit it, Neville, hit long bottom. And after he went to these ancient mystery schools, he actually published a medical cookbook, which included a love potion, which is also relevant to Harry Potter. So I just wanted to include that. I think that's just so fun that like a physician can make little love potions too.
Yeah.
It's a little quirky. So clearly we're starting to see Nostradamus move away from the traditional medicine that he practiced. He's moving more towards the occult with what he is doing and what he is writing about and what he is performing on patients, I guess. Additionally, he would do things such as meditate in front of a bowl full of herbs, which honestly is something that I would do. So I'm not blaming Nostradamus. But this would result in trances and visions, and I don't know what herbs were in this, boiling pot. I don't think it was just like a little lavender oil diffuser. I don't think it was like a little nest fragrance. I think it was something a little bit more, strong.
A little psychedelic, maybe.
A little psychedelic, because he was having trances and visions. It is believed that these trances and visions were the basis of his predictions of the future that he is famous for. And he even wrote an almanac in 1550 on astrology, predictions for the year, and folklore legends, all while incorporating his visions into this almanac. So he would just like be writing about astrology, writing about all these things. And then he'd just be like, and I had a vision that a lion came in and ate my womb. I don't know why I said that. Maybe that's like my subconscious mind running.
I think so.
About my womb. This almanac received a positive response from the people of France, which actually grew his name and fame, which is surprising because you wouldn't think that in the 1550s people would be like, yes, we love reading about an almanac about, love potions and legends. He also wrote a book titled Centuries and planned to write 10 volumes of this, which would contain 100 predictions forecasting the next 2,000 years. Pretty bold of him. He'd be like, I'm going to predict the next 2,000 years. I don't even know time enough to like understand what 2,000 years from now would be. We're so advanced that like what would 2,000 years from now be?
Oh yeah.
And in 1555, he published Les Prophéties, which obviously means, maybe not obviously, but means prophecies, which was a collection of his major long-term predictions, which we will talk about shortly. And now people believe because writing these prophecies could constitute religious persecution of Nostradamus, Nostradamus actually used a method of obscuring meanings by using quatrains, which were rhymed 4-line verses. And he also used a mixture of other languages such as Greek, Italian, Latin, and Provençal, which makes sense to me, but also could that just be a way that he's being very vague to kind of hide that maybe he doesn't actually know what he's talking about? Who knows?
I'm really impressed with how he did this. Like the execution. I feel like he'd be a really good rapper.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine rapping about the future.
That's a good parody video, Nostradamus rapping.
That's definitely a thing.
Darn it.
It'd be a good movie.
All of our
It'd be a good movie like Hamilton. But Nostradamus rapping about the future.
But not really, because it's just like Hamilton actually, I feel like they did things like in Hamilton, but like Nostradamus, like who are the people?
He predicted the future.
But did he really?
I mean,
I guess that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, don't.
Okay. But instead of being direct, like, oh, okay, a hurricane will hit Texas in 2008, he would say things like, a grand rush of foliage will swarm around the south part of Mother in the year 2 + 10 - 2. And you'd be like, okay, that math could add up to nearly anything. Okay, no, that doesn't make sense. But like, he would make numbers, but they weren't actually the number. He wouldn't be like, in 1666. Like, come on, Nostradamus. Like, do it for us. Wouldn't he sacrifice himself to like...
No.
Fix the world if it was like just write about the truth? Like if you have this clairvoyant power, just write what you mean. Don't use quatrains and rhymes and lines and analogies and different
No, it's
languages.
pretty obvious he's doing this to hedge himself.
But Nostradamus claimed to base his published predictions on judicial astrology, the art of forecasting future events by calculation of the planets and stellar bodies in relationship to the Earth. And some scholars believe that Nostradamus paraphrased ancient end-of-the-world prophecies, mostly the Bible, and then through astrological readings of the past, he projected these events into the future. But enough of this, we want the meat of it. We want the tasty Nostradamus mommy. We want to know, okay, great, we get who he is, what actually made him so famous? Did he actually predict anything? What happened in his lifetime that made him an icon, a legend? And then after that, we will discuss prophecies of what Nostradamus told us that actually might have occurred in recent times in the past 100 years or so.
So the first prophecy that actually came true while Nostradamus was still alive was of the wife of King Henry II of France, Catherine Medici. She read one of Nostradamus's almanacs, which included unnamed threats to her family.
Gasp.
She had him come to Paris, draw up horoscopes for her, and explain the threats in detail. A few years later, she made him a counselor and physician in ordinary to King Henry's court. Additionally, in 1556, while serving as counselor and physician in ordinary, he noted a prophecy in Centuries I referred to King Henry. This prophecy wrote about a young lion who would overcome an older one on the battlefield. The young lion would pierce the eye of the older one, and he would die a cruel death. For this reason, Nostradamus warned the king that he should avoid jousting. 3 years later, King Henry died in a jousting match when a lance from his opponent pierced his visor and entered his head from the eye deep into his brain, which caused him to die. Both had lions on their shields. So if you're talking about a king,
Yes. Oh,
you're
here
going to
we go.
describe a king as a lion, right?
Yes.
No one's going to be like, that's a little birdie, or that's a little
What about a
pussycat,
tiger?
or tiger. I mean, I think lions were more prevalent in medieval Europe, just culturally.
True.
So I think describing
Two
a king.
lions. Okay, fine.
And then if we look at statistically all of the jousting deaths, really hard to do. But I think probably one of the common deaths, like a weakness in the armor, is obviously going to be the visor.
The one about King Henry being in a jousting match, he wrote that about King Henry. Or like he told King Henry, like, this is about you. So it's even more like niche. Right? Because there's,
I'll
it
give it to
happens
him.
a lot.
I'll give it to him.
I'll give it to him. Now, additionally, while he was traveling to those infamous ancient mystery schools, he actually had his psychic awakening, and a legend says that during this, Nostradamus met a Franciscan monk, Felice Peretti, and predicted this monk would become pope, which he actually did. So those are just two examples of things he predicted during his lifetime that came true, I guess. But enough of what happened while he was living. Let's see, in the 2,000 years, the span of time that he claimed that he could predict what happened, how can we relate this to actual major events that happened, and if there is any, clear consensus of, is it actually real or not? Is he actually legit? Who is Nostrami Mommy? In addition to predicting the events that occurred during his lifetime, Nostradamus also wrote about longer-term future predictions in his book I referenced earlier called Les Prophéties in 1555. And many note Nostradamus' claims are pretty vague and lack specific dates, which make it easy for people to pick some prophecies after an event happened and fit it to a claim to make it seem true, kind of similar to the Barnum effect in psychology, which is basically like taking astrology and it's vague enough where it could be like, you are a person that loves hard work, you are a person that achieves their goals and wants success. Like, that could fit into anyone. So it's a similar kind of concept of, the Barnum effect could apply to Nostradamus and his predictions in his writings Les Prophéties. And a majority of the predictions in Les Prophéties deals with natural events like earthquakes, wars, floods, invasions, murders, droughts, battles, plague, all of the fun things that we don't want in the world. But unfortunately, they seem to happen regardless. For example, if a flood happened in 2023, it wouldn't shock anyone. A flood is bound to happen somewhere in 2023. So Nostradamus writing about all of these things that will happen in the next 2,000 years. It wasn't like he said, like, a monkey will walk a trapeze. Actually, that probably happened. I don't know. Pigs fly. A pig would fly over Mount Everest in 1952 in the land of, I don't know, Oz. However, his enthusiasts still credit him with things such as the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon, the rise of Hitler, the assassination of JFK, 9/11, and even COVID.
I remember watching like a really cheesy Nostradamus documentary when I was a little kid with my brother.
Yes.
On the History Channel about how he predicted 9/11.
Oh, no. I just think of Nostradamus as the Nostradamus, like a wizard. And he's not. He's just a guy that wrote a book that people just believed.
That's like L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh, yeah. Or like the Long Island Medium. But let's start with the Great Fire of London in 1666. And if you are not familiar with the Great Fire of London from 1666, it is essentially a small fire that actually started in a bakery on Pudding Lane. I feel like I can't laugh, but I feel like 1666, time's passed long enough. I probably have ancestors that were in the fire in the bakery. So can I make a joke about Pudding Lane? You can't burn pudding. You refrigerate pudding to make pudding. You gel it and you put it in the fridge. You don't bake it. So it's just funny that
Yeah.
Pudding Lane got burned. Pudding Lane, it's like the Muffin Man. What lane does he work?
Salisbury Lane.
Really? I thought it was Pudding Lane.
No, it might be Salisbury Hill.
Muffin Man's the neighbor of the fire, and he's like, shit, gotta go. It took place in London and turned into a 3-day fire that consumed the city, and people actually blamed the Lord Mayor, who was indecisive at the time.
Oftentimes when people are indecisive, people die in these emergency
All
situations.
business decisions happen in 15 minutes or less. By the time he ordered for large-scale demolitions, it was too late. The fire had already spread into a firestorm, which eventually expanded into the heart of the city of London. That's why it burned for 3 days.
Sounds like someone went to Chipotle.
Like he was just sitting there like, wait, Lord Mayor?
Yeah,
Or who went to Chipotle?
he did. He
Yeah,
had a
he's
firestorm and it burned for 3 days.
Oh, I thought you meant like he was thinking about it. He wasn't sure what to make of the decision. He went to Chipotle. I was like, I don't know if they had a Chipotle in London in 1666. He probably had like a crumpet factory that he was like, on Pudding Lane. This is what Nostradamus said, okay? The blood of the just will be demanded of London, burnt by fire in the year 66. The ancient lady will fall from her high place, and many of the same sect will be killed. But that was just one translation, because someone else said that Nostradamus wrote, the blood of the just will commit a fault at London burnt through lightning of 23's the 6. This is what I mean by the numbers. It's like 23's the 6. What does that mean? The ancient lady will fall from her high place. Several of the same sect will be killed. So people think that if you decode the reference to 23's the 6th, it's 66, because 20 times 3 plus 6 is 66.
That's pretty obvious.
Wait, 23. But what if it's
23's the 6. 23's.
Oh,
comma,
but why the 6?
Comma the 6.
Oh, like the 6th year of that. Oh, okay, fine. I don't know why I thought it was very vague for him to say that. But why wouldn't he just say 1666?
Because he's going to go to jail.
For saying, but
666.
He's actually a Satanist. But it doesn't make sense why he would write it would be burned by lightning. Like, no, it was burned on Pudding Lane via fire in a bakery. Like, you could have been like, it was burned on a pudding pie. Like,
well, again,
lightning.
Like lions on the shield.
Mm-hmm. Broad. But has anything ever burned by lightning?
Yes.
I guess in a
Forest fires every year get started by a lightning.
I thought that was by
stupid people and lightning.
Oh, stupid people, I thought. The ancient lady will fall from her high place, which people were confused because the Lord was not an ancient lady. No, he was not. And the King of England obviously wasn't a lady. So they're like, why is he referring to this lady? And then people are like, oh, it's because London. Like, he's referring to London as the ancient lady. I'm like, can't you refer to every city as the ancient lady? Or like every boat.
London's very old.
So it's like Mesopotamia.
Honestly,
like,
I'll say the ancient ladies. That prediction seems better than the other one.
Ooh, I like that you're a Nostradamus mommy fan.
The numbers are good.
But there's also a theory that the note about the blood of the just refers to the millions of flea-carrying rats that were killed in the fire.
Sure.
Let's go. Kill those rats. But in regards to the same sect portion, Londoners actually blamed the fire on Catholics and the Dutch, which resulted in a number of lynchings during this fire. As the city was burning, they were just like, lynch the Dutch, lynch the Catholics.
Yeah, so this is 100 years after Nostradamus. No wonder he's saying this stuff in cryptid little messages.
Oh, yeah.
Cryptic little messages. I say cryptic. These people, do you know why witches are associated with cats? It's because during the bubonic plague, women weren't dying because they had cats, because the cats would eat the mice and the rats that had the bubonic plague fleas. So they'd be fine. Everyone's like, oh, look, they have a cat, and they're fine. That must be a witch. So let's burn them.
But anyways, I will let you guys decide on what you think about this one. Comment down below any of your thoughts about the fire of 1666 on Pudding Lane. Let's get into something a little darker. The next Nostradamus prediction was about Hitler.
From the depths of the west of Europe, a young child will be born of 4 people. He who by his tongue will seduce a great troop. His fame will increase towards the realm of the east. He also wrote, beasts ferocious with hunger will cross the river. The great part of the battlefield will be against Hister. Into a cage of iron will the great one be drawn, when the child of Germany observes nothing.
So we know Hitler was born in Western Europe to very poor parents, but he moved Germany to action in the years following World War I, in part who by his tongue, through his oratory skills, So that's why by the tongue. The line, his fame will increase towards the realm of the East, is said to predict the Axis alliance with Japan in the East.
Oh, I
Axis.
thought that was like the Blitzkrieg of Poland.
Oh.
In the attempted invasion of Russia.
Yes.
So
you interpret it differently than all these other people. So it's like you can really
interesting.
interpret things however you want to.
Which really makes you think about how broad was his writing.
But the name Hister is believed to be a spelling error, which at first I was a little impressed with. I was like, okay, Hister, Hitler sounds kind of similar. I can see how maybe he's like looking at the stars and he's like trying to read it with the glass. And he's like, Hister? And it's like, no, it's Hitler. But wait. With further research, because we do that for you, I found out that Hister actually also is a Latin name from the Danube, which is an old European river that people like.
Danube.
I'm so smart.
I almost didn't know what you were talking about.
I thought I was so smart. I was like, I'm doing the research.
Have you ever heard the song "By the Beautiful Blue Danube"?
No.
Dun 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun,
yeah, I've seen like commercials for like shaving cream.
Well, it's a very famous song.
Very famous song.
The Danube is a German river.
Well, then fine. So it means
they
that's
do Viking
Hister.
River cruises down the Danube.
Okay, great. I'm glad. Hister, I thought was like I was like, oh my god, you really was like trying to spell it out, and it wasn't. No, it's literally just means something else. Yeah. And the line, beast ferocious with hunger will cross the rivers, is said to note the German army invading France, and the greater battlefield refers to the Allied powers defeating Hitler.
It's interesting. I thought of the Panzer tank, like the Panther tank. When they
thought of something completely different than
the Panzer tank was the German Nazi tank that they used to invade.
Well, not completely different, but like different than what...
I interpreted it differently.
Well, that's
goes to
fine,
show how broad it is.
Exactly. You know? We should make an episode where we just like read it and we're like, this is what's gonna happen in 30.
If you want a part 2, comment down below.
You want a part 2 about Nostradamus, not that you want to watch
on us interpreting his things
like
to
the
modern
Danube.
events.
What did I call it? Danube.
Danube. The doobie.
Bop bop Danube. That's another good song we could make about the Danube.
The doobie.
The Danube brothers. That's us. But another thing that JFK predicted that Nostradamus predicted was about the JFK assassination. And he wrote that the great man will be struck down in the day by a thunderbolt, an evil deed foretold by the bearer of a petition. And according to the prediction, another falls at nighttime. Conflict at Reims, London, and a pestilence in Tuscany.
It sounds like he predicted that the CIA assassinated JFK.
That's what people say. From this, people interpreted that the great man was JFK, obviously, as he did receive numerous death threats, which is said to be what Nostradamus meant by the word petition. And the thunderbolt is said to represent being gunned down in the afternoon. And Bobby Kennedy was killed just after midnight, which is said to be what Nostradamus referred to when he said, another falls at nighttime. Although the world did mourn, the conflict in Reims in London and sickness in Tuscany doesn't really add to the storyline at all. It doesn't really refer to the JFK assassination, so I don't know why it would be in the same quatrain.
Well, at this point, I think this guy's smoking DMT, writing down whatever he sees, and it could just be from all different timelines.
Relatable. I'm just kidding. A different line about the JFK assassination, like totally different quatrain, not related to the one I just read, reads, from on high, evil will fall on the great man, which could connotate the shot by a sniper that assassinated JFK, because it's from on high, great man, he's such a great man, icon.
I could think of like 100 different examples.
Yeah, but like
Get
sniper,
out of here.
I don't know, high, from high, what else could become high?
What else? A bomb?
A brick from a building?
This could have to do with Abraham Lincoln being shot from above.
Oh, true.
Martin Luther King.
Okay, fine, but wait, there's more. A dead innocent will be accused of the deed, may refer to Lee Harvey Oswald, who has been thought of as an innocent fall guy, and Nostradamus wrote that the true guilty part will, quote, remain in the mist, which JFK conspiracy theorists sometimes refer to, obviously, which we might make a podcast on, not that we believe, but we want to talk about it. Like, just talk about it. I don't know what happened. Who knows?
Worth a conversation.
Now, I wanted to briefly mention a huge, major global event that obviously happened in the past few years and is still happening, COVID-19. And I don't want to undermine anything, and I don't believe and I don't suggest to read Nostradamus and predict future events or anything. I just thought it would be interesting to see by looking at a recent event and comparing it to his text, if there's any correlation at all. So some people have been claiming that Nostradamus predicted the rise of COVID when he wrote, "Near the gates within 2 cities there will be 2 scourges, the like of which was never seen. Famine with plague, but people put out by steel, crying the great immortal God for relief." But there was a similar meme circulating the internet of something Nostradamus actually didn't even write at all, which was said to predict COVID, and everyone was sharing this meme, and it was like, the city...
It sounds like something your mom would share on Facebook.
Yeah, probably. Isn't that crazy that, like, I feel like if I read something and, like, it was, like, a quote by Nostradamus, I'd be like, oh my god, you gotta read this. Like,
and you'd show it to me and be like,
yeah.
Really?
You'd be like...
Danube? Or what? I don't even know what you said.
A professor of French study at NYU told Reuters that one should keep in mind that plagues were recurrent in 16th century Europe during his lifetime. They were one of the travails about which he wrote. Indeed, there are at least 35 references to plagues in Nostradamus's prophecies. So if you think about it, if he's writing about plagues 35 times, the odds that one of them matching COVID even a little bit, which this one doesn't even like match it at all. But also, like, even if he did predict the plague, okay, great, why didn't you predict like a vaccine to help us move it along a little bit quicker? Now lastly, we are here to predict 2023. Whether you believe clairvoyance is real or not, I think it's fun. Why not look into what he wrote about 2023? And hey, maybe next year we'll make a video on if any of this actually happened or not. But one of his first predictions for 2023 that stands out is a great war. And according to Nostradamus, 7 months into the Great War, people dead of evil doing, ruin, of ruse shall not fall to the king. This has been prophesied as the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict that could escalate into World War III. In the terrifying prediction, the French city of Rouen appears to have escaped the battle. So let's see if that happens. I hope that the wars all end in 2023, but I don't know. People also talk about global warming and him predicting it, even though, like, I feel like it's been happening for I don't know how long. But he wrote, "Like the sun, the head shall sear the shining sea. The black sea living fish shall all but boil. When Rhodes and Genoa half starved shall be, the local folk to cut them up shall toil." However, there is...
Okay,
sounds like
Dr.
a Dr.
Seuss.
Seuss.
Wait, it sounds like he's reading the Bible and rewriting it. So get the fuck out of here.
Nostradamus' next prediction for 2023 is the arrival of a new pope to succeed Francis. So those are just a few of the predictions for 2023. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, I don't know.
I predict you will have diarrhea in 2023.
Yeah, well, happened in 2022 multiple times, so yeah. But how did Nostradamus see himself? Now, to assess if Nostradamus was a fraud, if he was maybe just a narcissist, or if he was actually onto something.
I think he's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, probably all three. But I think it's interesting to look at how Nostradamus perceived himself. I think you could really tell a person by how they would describe themselves, you know, what characteristics, whatever. Now, Nostradamus did explicitly reject the label as prophet, which a prophet is a person having prophetic powers of his own, obviously. And on several occasions, he noted, "Although, my son, I have used the word prophet, I would not attribute to myself a title of such lofty sublimity." And he wrote that in the preface to Caesar. Again, he stated, "Not that I would attribute to myself either the name or the role of a prophet." In a letter to King Henry II, he noted, "Some of the prophets predicted great and marvelous things to come, though for me, I in no way attribute to myself such a title here." So is it comforting that he is declining the label of a prophet, or is it kind of like a blatant mind game that he's playing? He seems to be obsessed with downplaying himself as a prophet. Maybe this is like a whole manipulative tactic. If Dumbledore was like, "I am not a great wizard," I would be like, "He's a great wizard," you know? But if Dumbledore was like, "I am the wizard," I'd be like, ew, calm down, you know?
Sounds like he wanted to enrich himself.
Like with like wealth or what?
Wealth,
But he went to like
social
mystery
status.
School. Yeah, I guess.
Our foo-foo asses are talking about him 500 years later.
Yeah, true.
For what? What did he predict?
What did he do?
Oh,
I feel like there are people that have done way more that people don't know about.
There's going to be a hurricane next year and a forest fire.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe he is a fraud. But do we think that taking events from the Bible or any historical text in general and matching it up with like the sky in any way could correlate? Like if you took...
Nope.
Really?
The sky was...
The world is so weird that
yeah, but
that could happen.
But think about it this way. Like in 10,000 years, the sky's going to look different. In 1 million, 2 million years, the constellations are all going to shift.
So like you can't look at the sky and predict the future unless it's like close in the future?
Not at all.
So like you don't think in the 1500s the sky would have been like kind of similar to it is now? I feel like it would be.
Oh, definitely. Scientifically, how would the sky predict the future?
Scientifically, how is there a sky?
Well, gravity and like the atmosphere.
But like, how is there like, I'm just saying, like, anything could happen. We are literally people on 8 billion people. I don't know. I'm just saying, okay? Do we think clairvoyance is real or could be real in general? Like, anyone could be
Nope.
You don't think it's possible at
Nope.
all?
I
Wow.
will.
Wow. What a
Okay,
paranormal
no.
podcaster you are. Well, that is a wrap on this week's episode of 2023 Nostradamus predictions that he's had, Nostradamus in general. I hope you guys have a very happy new year. If you guys like this podcast remotely, like if you're just like, it's all right, hit subscribe. It means so much to us because we put in a lot of time, effort. I hope you guys like this video, and I'll see you guys next week here on Cauldron Convos. Nostradamus, mommy. Hit it.
Hit it.
Feces frenzy.